Hello, this is the Bible in Fewer Words. We are Carol and Steve Wells. This is episode 217, Daniel, chapters 9 through 12. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Carol. We're going to finish Daniel today.
Oh, that is such great news.
Yeah, 4 chapters this time. We've been doing chapter by chapter, but this time we're going to get through it in one episode.
Does that mean there were boring
Oh,
parts?
yes, it does. Sorry, didn't understand. Yeah, there are some boring things, and we're going to skip those. There's kind of some stuff, too, that it's both boring and we've also covered it before. Because we've been having the same story over and over again, right?
Yes.
There's a little bit more of that going on here, so just cut that out.
Okay. All right, let's go.
Okay. In the first year of the reign of King Darius, I, Daniel, saw that the number of years Jeremiah said Jerusalem would be desolate was 70 years. Some things to mention is that this Darius character is a fictional character.
Oh, yeah.
There's no evidence that he existed, but Daniel has him here.
As a king.
As a king, right.
Yeah, who is reigning in his first year, and that's when this is happening.
Yeah. The other thing is that this shows us that Daniel has read Jeremiah. He's familiar with and knows what's in Jeremiah, right? Because he's referring to Jeremiah, and he says, remember in Jeremiah, says that the number of years that Jerusalem would be desolate, so that's going to be the number of years that they're going to be in captivity is going to be 70 years. Mm-hmm. And that's what it said in Jeremiah.
Okay, so he's read this.
He's read that. So Jeremiah says that there's going to be 70 years, referring to the Babylonian captivity. So Jerusalem is going to be desolate, empty of people for 70 years.
Okay. Verse 3. So I put on sackcloth and ashes and began to pray.
Yeah, and he prays along here for another 20 verses or so. So I cut those out.
Yippee.
It's a pretty boring prayer. Verse 21. While I was praying, the man Gabriel flew by and touched me.
The same Gabriel we had in the last episode.
Yeah, that's right.
Who was explaining things.
That's right,
to
yeah.
Daniel.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so he can fly.
Yeah, he flew by and he said to me, I'm here to give you skill and understanding.
A tutor.
Yeah.
Okay, verse 24. Your people will suffer 70 weeks for their sins, to seal the vision and prophecy and anoint the most holy.
Yeah, so what he's really doing here is he's clarifying the stuff that Jeremiah said about it being 70 years. Mm-hmm. He's saying is going to be 70 weeks.
Which, there's a difference there.
Yeah, it's a difference in several ways. One is talking about weeks instead of years. Uh-huh. But, of course, what he's doing here is this 70 weeks thing is probably referring to years.
Really?
Yeah.
They're different words.
A day is a year, So that's the way people usually interpret this.
Okay.
So what that means is it's going to be 490 years. And what the Bible scholars say is that the reason he's doing that is because in Jeremiah was really predicting that the people would return to Jerusalem, everything would be fine, and it'd be fine kind of forever, right? Uh-huh. Well, it wasn't so fine forever. There are still more problems that they had, like with the Greeks and whatnot, that they're having right now while he's writing these things. Uh-huh. So it needs to be a longer time.
Okay, so let's make it longer.
Let's make it longer. Let's make it 70 weeks instead of 70 years. That'll make it 490 years. That'll give us enough time.
Okay. It sounds like new math to me.
And this is something that the people that take the Bible seriously consider to be prophecy. Mm-hmm. And they try to figure out, what does this mean, this 490 years?
Yes.
70 weeks thing is an important part of prophecy. And there's various attempts to come to some type of understanding about what is being prophesied here.
Okay.
But I have a link in the notes for a Wikipedia article that talks about all that.
Okay. So when Gabriel flew down and said, I'm here to give you skill and understanding, he was talking about, let's figure this out together.
Yeah, right. Jeremiah wasn't quite right. We're going to fix that right now.
Okay.
Verse 25. From the time that Jerusalem is rebuilt to the Messiah, the Prince, will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. I think what he's saying is 69 weeks.
After 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off, and the people of the prince will destroy the city. Then there'll be a flood that'll last until the end of the war. He'll confirm the covenant for 1 week while he stops sacrifices and spread abominations and desolation until the consummation is poured out on the desolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
that's
didn't
pretty
change the
sad.
wording too much there. And I probably should have, because it's kind of messy and hard to understand.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what's going to happen, I guess, in that last week.
Okay.
Chapter 10. In the 3rd year of King Cyrus, a thing was revealed to Daniel, who is also known as Belteshazzar. And the thing was true, and he understood the thing.
And what was the thing?
We don't know, but it was
true.
revealed. The thing was revealed, and it was true, and he understood it.
Well, that's weird.
And now the King Cyrus here, now that's a real guy.
Uh-huh.
He was the one who actually conquered Babylon in 539 BCE.
Oh, that's right.
So if this really happened to this guy, Daniel, we would be talking about the 3rd year would be 536 BCE. And the whole story in the verse 1 of chapter 1 of Daniel implies that it was starting about 607 BCE. So it would be 70 years it would have passed.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd be a pretty old man by this time. Daniel would be.
Yes. Verse 2. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning for 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks I ate no bread or flesh, drank no wine, and didn't anoint myself.
And why was he doing that?
He was mourning.
Mourning.
We don't know what. But he
Not
was,
his wife that God told him not to mourn?
No, that was
Different
Ezekiel.
person.
Yeah.
Okay. Later, while I stood on the bank of the Tigris River, I saw a man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with gold.
His body was like beryl, his face like lightning, his eyes like fire, his arms and feet like brass, and his voice like a crowd of people.
That sounds loud. A
Yeah,
crowd of people.
but that's quite a sight, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, this is a description that is found somewhere else in the Bible, almost exactly the same. It's in the book of Revelation, which we'll get to eventually, right? The last book of the Bible.
Yeah.
In that book, chapter 1, Jesus appears. And he appears looking just like this.
Oh.
So this Christian's figure, most Christians think that this man in linen is Jesus, because nobody dresses like Jesus.
Nobody.
No, you know, if you see a guy like that, dressed that way, you know.
Yeah, it's Jesus.
It's Jesus. So they figure actually that this is Jesus.
Okay.
But the man in linen also showed up. Remember there was a man in linen in Ezekiel?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember any details about what happened there?
Nope.
Well, God was telling this man in linen to kill
Everyone
in Jerusalem. Everyone in Jerusalem, men, women, children, whatever, unless they had that mark on their forehead. Remember? They had to have a mark on their forehead. Kill everyone else. So if the man in linen, if this is the same man in linen as the man in linen in Ezekiel, and also
in Revelation.
the guy in Revelation, that man would be Jesus. And that's kind of not a nice picture of Jesus we got.
No, it isn't. No wonder the Jews didn't believe in him.
Yeah.
Okay, so, verse 7. The men who were with me couldn't see this man, but then an earthquake came, and they ran away. So I was left alone with the vision.
I fell asleep on my face when the man started speaking.
Again, he's falling asleep while he's talking.
Yeah, that's kind of rude. So another thing that happens, another reason people think it might be Jesus, is that Paul, in the book of Acts, Paul's on the road to Damascus. Jesus comes.
Yep.
He saw this big light, and he fell down, but the people that he was with couldn't see it. His face was like lightning.
Yes.
So it'd be kind of bright. So you
They
kind of see how
turned
that
away
would
from
work.
it. Yeah.
The people that were with him didn't see it, just like the people that are with Daniel don't see it.
Yeah.
Another reason people think it might be Jesus.
Jesus scares people. They think he's a ghost. Verse 10. He touched me and said, "Stand up, Daniel." So I stood, trembling.
He said, "Don't be afraid. Michael, one of the chief princes, is here to help me. I'm here to make you understand what will happen in the latter days." This verse here where it says, "Don't be afraid because Michael's here and he's going to help me," well, that's one that argues against it being Jesus.
Oh, yeah, because Michael's going to help God. Jesus?
Jesus, yeah. See, Jesus doesn't need help.
No.
Yeah. And this also is the reason why Jehovah's Witnesses believe that this man in linen guy is not Jesus.
Who is he?
He's Gabriel, I think.
Okay.
But Michael is Jesus.
Oh, my God.
Jehovah's Witnesses believe that Michael the Archangel is Jesus. That he took the form of Jesus in the incarnation, when he was born to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So Michael and Jesus are the same character. And this kind of shows it, you see, because Michael looks like he's the superior one. He's going to help whoever this man in linen is.
Verse 14. I'm here to make you understand what will happen in the latter days. After he said this, I put my face on the ground and became dumb. That's okay. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Then one of the many who looked like sons of men touched my lips.
And I said, I am sad and weak.
Then someone who looked like a man said, do you know where I came from? Now I'm going to fight with the prince of Persia. When I'm gone, the prince of Greece will come.
And I'll show you what is written in the scripture of truth. Michael is your prince.
Yeah.
Michael. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess this is Michael the Archangel. I haven't heard much of him up to now in the Bible, but there he is. Okay, now chapter 11, the man in linen continues to explain things to Daniel. These are things that we've heard before, mostly. And it talks about the king of the north and the king of the south, and they're fighting one another. And of course, the king of the south is the Ptolemies in Egypt, and the king of the north is the Seleucids in Syria.
Okay.
Anyway, they're fighting one another. And
so it's all stuff we've heard.
That. We've heard it before.
All right.
So we're going to go to the last chapter.
All right. Chapter 12. The man in linen continued talking to Daniel, saying, at that time, Michael will stand up, and there'll be trouble, like the world has never seen before. But those whose names are written in the book will be okay.
Many will rise from the dead, some to everlasting life, and some to everlasting contempt. This is maybe the only clear reference in the Hebrew Scriptures to an afterlife that includes something that sounds like heaven and hell.
Uh-huh.
And one of the reasons that we have it here is that they're getting influenced by the Greeks at this time, and the views of heaven and hell are starting to change. This is being written a lot later than most of the books of the Old Testament. And so by that time, they're starting to kind of get these ideas about the afterlife in heaven and hell. And that verse kind of implies that there's going to be some type of afterlife that's a little bit more definite than the poorly defined Sheol of most of the Hebrew Scriptures.
So this is the first time we hear about this.
Yeah.
Verse 3, and the wise will shine like stars.
But you, Daniel, must shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end, when many will run to and fro, and knowledge will increase.
Then I saw two others, one on this side of the river, and the other on the other side.
One of them said to the man in linen, when will this happen?
The man in linen, who was standing on the water holding up his hands, swore to God, saying, the end will come after a time, times and a half.
This times and a half thing, we've heard it before in Daniel, right?
Yes.
Sometimes expressed as 1,260 days, sometimes as 42 months, sometimes as a times and a half.
And it just sounds like it could be pretty much anything.
But it's a number that is used in both Daniel and Revelation when they're talking about the end of the world. And so this causes tremendous effort on the part of those who are trying to understand when the end of the world is going to come. They focus on this 1,260-day deal, or 1,260-year thing. And I have a link in the notes in a Wikipedia article that covers the various ways that people have interpreted these things to show when they think the end is going to be.
All right. Verse 8. I heard what he said, but I didn't understand it. Well, hello. So I said, so when will the end come?
He said, go away, Daniel. The words are sealed until the time of the end.
So all these numbers really doesn't matter because you're just not going to know until it just happens.
Yeah, just forget about it. Don't worry about
okay, good.
Many will be purified and made white. I don't know what it means, but that's what it says. Wicked people will do wicked things and won't understand, but the wise will understand.
From the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away and the abomination of desolations is set up, there will be 1,290 days.
Yeah, which is 30 more than what the other number was. So we're getting kind of confused here.
Uh-huh.
I should say what the Jews think this is talking about, what many scholars think it is as well, is talking about the time from when Antiochus IV desecrated the temple to the time when the Judas Maccabees restored the temple after defeating Antiochus, was, according to 2nd Maccabees, 3 years. And it is about 3 years. It's close. That would be the more likely interpretation of these things. But even Daniel here seems to be confused, because now let's look at the next verse.
So the next verse said, "Blessed are they that wait 1,335 days."
Yeah.
Yet another number.
Another number. So we have 3 different numbers that seem to be doing the same thing.
And what are our listeners supposed to take away from all these confusing verses here?
Oh, not a thing.
Okay, good.
No,
Just wanted
no.
to make that clear,
No,
that I wasn't walking away.
This is all just bizarre, crazy talk, right?
Okay, yes.
But it's crazy talk that Bible
Some people-
believers, that people have spent, Isaac Newton spent more time on this than he did on physics.
Really?
Yeah.
Why was he interested in that?
Oh, he was really into the book of Daniel, and also the prophecy, and trying to figure out the end of the world. It's frightening to think what he could have achieved if he hadn't wasted his time. Like we're wasting our time.
And our listeners' time, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. On this. We're not wasting our time because this is important. The only reason it's important is because there are still, even today, there are still so many believers in this.
Yeah.
It's important to understand what they believe, why they believe what they believe. Chapter 12 of the book of Daniel is one of the most important books of the Bible. If you want to understand how the Bible has influenced people's thinking, and still does today, about the end of the world, what's going on in Israel today, all of that, it's extremely important.
Climate change. Do we have to have climate change in order for the end of the world to happen on one of
Yeah,
these 3
no,
numbers?
We don't have to worry about climate change because God's going to destroy the whole thing anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when. The when is these numbers.
Yeah. And that's not clear.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so verse 13. "So live your life until the end happens. You'll rest and stand when the world ends."
And that's the end of Daniel.
Phew.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a lot of stuff to take in, honey.
Yeah.
And I know you've spent countless hours trying to put this in a form that our listeners will be able to absorb.
The book of Daniel is one of the most difficult books to understand of all the Bible, because it's all talking the strange visions and
Nonsense.
but it's stuff that it
People
sounds like
believe
he's
it.
trying to tell us about when the world's going to end or something, and it sounds important. And people have thought it was, and still do today.
Okay, well, there we are at
Yeah.
the end of Daniel.
That's right.
And the next book is
Hosea.
Hosea.
Yeah.
That sounds lighter.
It's not. Maybe a little.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. It's
Lighter,
different.
like not as long, or lighter, like,
Well-
not deep and heavy.
Hosea is the first of the minor prophets. We're going to have 12 of them. Hosea is one of the longer books, but they're short chapters, and I think they'll be fairly easily summarized.
God, I hope so.
And I think we can get through it in maybe just a few episodes.
Okay. Hey, Steve, thanks.
Sure.
And listeners, thanks for staying with us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.